Okay, Herschel. So yours, the biggest thing I noticed on yours is one, the hands and arms feel a little stiff, and they feel like they're maybe out to the side a little too much, and you're getting a lot of hitchiness in the spine. So if I watch the legs are feeling all right. They're feeling a little poppy in spots, but let's open this up really quick and look at it. Show NURBS curves. And so if I select this, I'll look at your graph. Okay, so here's part of it is like if we just look at this, you got one dip down there, and then you don't really have another one for the second one that much. So if you look at your translate Y, you got one dip down, and then it just climbs the entire rest of the walk cycle, right? And so you really need to make sure that like you kind of getting um, this repeating pattern that goes through your, and they don't have to be perfect, but they need to be sort of a repeating pattern. If we also look at um, your so this is your rotate forward and backward on this. Like you can see a little bit of why we're getting some of that hitchiness in the spine is like right here it rotates forward. No, is it forward? What's that? Yeah, so it's rotating back, and then it sort of pops forward really quickly, and then kind of hovers there, and then back, and then forward, and then back, and at the same time you're also getting this slow lean to one side. Um, I'm sorry, that's a slow twist, and then the slow lean to one side. And also on top of that, if we look at our infinity, it's not really cycling well because we need to make these clean that up a little bit. So it's a lot of that. Just make sure you kind of get. I'm guessing this is your side to side. Yeah, sort of your roll, and then this is your twist. And so your twist is you're actually just twisting all of one way, and then so that there, if you see like kind of twist there and kind of pop back, some of that seems like it's coming from down here. And so you look at your rotate there, and you got some zigzaggies there. So a lot of this is really just going in and cleaning up your curves. I think you got a good basis. The exception of your arms being out a little too far and your hands being a little stiff. I think this is actually a pretty good start. But I mean, I keep your arms like kind of tucked in a little bit more. Let them go pretty close to the side of your body. So don't save. Natalie, um, yours, as I was talking about, is just kind of an issue of it not being finished. It's you kind of catch there on that step, but we're starting on this step, so it's like it just kind of. I'm not sure if I'm getting the whole loop. If I go into Morpheus, um, if I go into the Maya file, we'll see a little bit more of what's going on in there. Um, and so that's all right. That's fine. Okay. So seeing that we're starting at this pose, ending that pose. Alright, so even at that, even if we take it all the way to that loop, which seems to be, what is that, frame 24. Okay, let's go ahead and try that. 24. We're getting a little bit of a pop there, and that's where it's not looping perfectly. So we can select animate, pick everything. So let's say we go all the way to frame 24. So that's part of it is looks like most of your animation stops at 22. You got a lot of stuff going on subframes here. So I'd select everything, snap, because otherwise we can't really shift any of the frames. And so that's subframe. So make sure that frame 24 is a loop frame. Let's see. I actually feel like 22 is what you're aiming at, isn't it? So let's see if 22 is what, yeah. S, make sure we do that. I'm going to trim this off to 21 so it will loop. Okay, so let's say this is the loopable, the looping one. Okay, Okay, so you got this offset, so I wasn't factoring that in, that you need that to be, you need to move that forward too to the right amount. So we'll do that. Sorry, my keyboard is just not working right. And so what I usually do here is I can go in here now with those three things selected and choose my translate Z on all of them. And then I can sort of adjust that together. And so I'm assuming there would need to be something like that. Okay. And so if we look at this, now we're kind of at a walk cycle. Now this one's weird to me because you're starting at the up pose instead of the contact pose, and you don't really seem to have a full contact pose, because in this contact pose you really want the toe to be kind of raised up and really kind of pushed back a little further. Let me get that a little bit. So it's starting now, and I think you're getting some good stuff in here, but it's still feeling pretty stiff. The head's feeling, what's going on with the head? The head doesn't seem like it's moving, even though this thing is twisting. Maybe not. There's something going on in there, though, that's odd. And so the head's feeling pretty locked in there, and the arms are feeling pretty stiff. Oh no, the arms are actually feeling a little bit loose. I think I'd drag it back a little bit more there. Your forward progression, like you can see, it's kind of wavy through here, so I think we really need to make sure that this is going forward kind of at the right pace, because we get this little lunge forward here at the end. So maybe something like that. And if we're viewing infinity, of course, we want to I don't know what's actually happening there. Cycle with offset. I guess I need to set all those to cycle with offset so we can just see it going forever. But so that's kind of the, yeah, so let's just select all, go in here, select everything, pre-infinity, cycle with offset, curves, post-infinity, cycle with offset. Okay, so now your character should walk forever. If we set this to forever, let's set this to like 150. Okay. And so, like, you're still going to need to clean this up quite a bit. I think that the passing pose goes a little high right there. There's a lot of these keyframes where both feet are flat on the ground, and that never really happens in a walk cycle. By the time this foot is flat on the ground, this one is up in the air. I would really say the biggest thing I would recommend on this is going back through it. I would almost say starting over from scratch, but going back through it and watching the videos that I made on it and how I go through that, because that's really so the way most people in the animation industry do it. So let's see. Cheers looks pretty good. You got a little bit of like some lunges forward, got a couple of hitches in the arms, and your character's going up and down quite a bit, and it almost feels like a touch too much for me. Again, I'm only really viewing it from one angle, so let's go ahead and look at it inside of Maya. Okay, this character always gives me that error, I think. And then I sit here and wait for a few minutes, and then it clears up, and we can look at it and go on about our lives. Come on. There it is. Okay. Does this get even crazier? She keeps going. Yeah, see how she's kind of getting out in front of her legs. Okay, let me show you why that is. If I do this, we're going to look at our curves. So if we grab our base here and our 2 feet, and we just look at the translate z's on all of these, right? So hold and control and get that. When we first look at that, they look fine. They look like they're all kind of heading the same way. Let's view infinity though, and we'll start to see that as we get further and further away, you'll see that this top one is starting to distance itself from it. It's starting to get a little further, right? And so that means that for some reason this end key on here is not a perfectly offset version of this start key, right? So let's fix that. Let's just grab it here. This is what I usually do. Grab it, drag it out to here, and it's S. Okay, so I know that just moved it, and so now if we cycled it, it would repeat. But then I can just shift it forward here to where I need it to be. And if we watch this now, she shouldn't start getting in front of her leg. I think she'll stay about the right position now. Okay, so the other thing that we would want to look at is the up and down on this. I feel like it's a touch extreme. So I'll select the curve. There we go. Look at our translate up and down. That's probably from where I did that, so I may have just messed up your looping. Your looping. And so now if I think it's the down feels just a little deep to me when I watch it. I'm also going to pull back on the up a little bit and just kind of adjust this to feel. Okay. And now if we watch this, let's see how she looks. So it's feeling pretty good to me now. Now the other thing I would say, stop, is that she kind of has this lunge forward going on. And so if we look at the hips again, or the center of gravity again, so one thing we'll see is, we kind of need to set that to where it's going to cycle correctly. But you see this, like, how it's kind of flattening out there and then jumping forward. I think we just need to ease that a little bit. So getting a little bit more like that going on in it. Okay. So the other 2 things I would say that I notice is her arms, like there. I feel like her arms come back and then they kind of pop back some more. And so that means there's something in your curve making that happen. That is likely our translate or our rotate Y. And if we look at our rotate Y's, usually we can find it. So it says it's coming back here. Oh, it's just the cycle point here. So we can just fix that. Not that big of a deal. And then I'll probably do a little bit more cleanup on it. Maybe something like that. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's feeling good. I feel like you could use a little bit more drag in your elbow a little bit, but the final thing I would say, you get a little bit of IK pop here on the foot, so we'll probably want to shift some stuff to make that, clean that up. That's where I'm sure I changed some of the stuff with the hips, and that's just giving you some issues. The last little thing I would say is how high up you are raising the foot for this pose. And so I would take it more like somewhere in this range. Most people barely lift their foot high enough off the ground and not scrape their toe on the ground. But I think that would help a little bit to just not bring that up quite so high, because it makes her feel a little bit like she's stomping right now. Okay, Jensen, we're going to look at the Spencer walk, or some Stewart walk. What is happening? Okay, play. So you got a couple of hitchiness. Well, you got some hitchiness. You also have some that I feel like it's almost polished some of the character off of it, so it's feeling a little floaty in spots. So let's watch the character walk here. So, show NURBS curves. Grab your center of gravity here. So you get a little bit of an IK pop right there. Oh, you're doing that switch to FK thing. So that's actually probably less of a pop and more of a misaligned FK-IK switch. And so you got another one right there, where it kind of misaligned switch. Right. And so just try to make those line up a little bit more smoothly. If I look at your hips, I feel like overall, yeah, that's what I thought. It's almost a straight line. So you're kind of having the opposite issue that some other people have, is that some of them are just doing, or they're a little wild, like it kind of lunges forward and backward all through up here. Yours is just a little too perfect, and so you do have just a little bit of a sway through there, and it just feels a little too linear. I wouldn't say that this is, yeah. So I think be careful on this. Like sometimes you gotta find a good balance between making it too mechanical feeling. So just a little bit of offset on some of this stuff. Not offset, just like asymmetry, so it's not perfect all the way across. The same here. I'm guessing that's 7.5 or 715. Oh, no, you got a little bit there. So you have to be careful. But then right here we got our rotate Y, which is our twist, and it rotates on this first part and then does it on the second part. Kind of flattens out there, and I don't know why the Y is, or why the Z is not updating. There we go. So those are some things I notice. Also notice the arm kind of, this rear arm, the red arm here, kind of pops in right there and then comes back out. So it feels like the tip of the fingers would have a weird arc, like it goes back and then over. And so if we look at this, yeah, it's that. See how we kind of got it flattening out there. And so let's just try that. Is this on the end of the, if we animate, create edible motion trail, there we go. We can look at the, see that little dip, how it lunges in there, but it's pretty much straight everywhere else. So just kind of getting a nice arc on that, on the tip of that. I don't know why that's tracking it from the wrist, not the tip of the fingers, but you get the idea. And so that's something to, maybe if I do it on that one. Yeah. You kind of feel that like sharp dip in and then pop back out. We get there. So just trying to clean up that arc a little bit. I don't know what's happening there. That's different. And just play around a little bit with, like, certain parts are a little too even and floaty. Other parts and they have a couple of little pops in them. The pops are not terrible. I don't notice them as much as the floatiness, but just needs a little bit more polish in there. Okay, Tate, let's open up yours. Actually, I think I gave you feedback in person today, so I think you took notes on that. Let me look at it really quickly. I think we talked about the feet are a little too spread, so maybe push them in a little bit. The arms are a little too spread, and then I know you're also moving the base, so trying to make it an actual forward progression, so you don't get the foot sliding on there. Good thing I left this open because it's not going to let me close Maya again. M process. There we go. Okay. Let me close this one. Caitlin. Let's open these two up. And I think after this one, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video and then wrap it up with the last few. Yeah. I bet this was, I don't know why this is giving me this error over and over again. So let's watch yours in, crap. Let's watch yours in, I like that she kind of has this slight smirk on her face. So, without, whoa, what did I just do here? That did not make sense. I'm in your camera, aren't I? Okay. Okay. That makes more sense. So, I don't want to assume that just because it's a female, you want her to be a overtly feminine female. Um, Having said that, she's walking with a pretty wide gait. Like her feet are pretty far apart, and generally that's just that's a little bit more of a masculine walk. Otherwise, this is feeling pretty. You got a couple of little hitchy spots in there, but I mean, so if we just push these closer together in the come on, Greg. There we go. So we just put these closer together in the translate Y or translate X, something like this. We can solve most of that if you're wanting it to feel less masculine. Now, having said that, I'm trying to be non-assuming. I don't know what is going on with Maya. That just because it's a okay, Maya's acting weird on me. I get weird issues with Maya when I'm doing a screencast. So I don't want to assume that just because it's a female character that you're wanting it to be a feminine gait. She could be a very neutral gait, or she could also have a masculine gait if she's like just being kind of tough, you know. And she kind of has that like what's it? The Riveter, Rosie the Riveter. She's kind of got that thing going on anyway. But I'm just kind of even for a masculine gait that was a little bit wide, so I think I would push it a little bit closer and get a little bit more. So now otherwise we're getting a couple of sort of poppy issues in the in the hips. Where is this at? Apparently not. Must be in this. Okay, so she kind of gets this really hard hunk, like shift of the hips forward right there, and you can see that in the rotate Y, and it kind of hits pretty hard. And so I think you could sort of soften some of that, but it's just really doing it on one side of that twist. Right? It's really when she's got her left leg forward. So when her right leg is forward here at the beginning, we don't really have it as much. Or maybe we do, and maybe it's, I don't know, but I would play around with a little bit of that. It feels like it's doing it a little hard to one side. So if you're wanting that to happen, maybe you're wanting something a little bit more like this. Also, a note on the difference between sort of masculine and feminine walks is that one of the things that makes a feminine walk feel more feminine is the hips shift a larger amount, and the collar or the clavicle, the shoulders, sort of the line that goes across the shoulders, kind of counter that a lot as well. So it's like if a let me get up again so I can kind of show you this just on the screen. So for some reason this day is not working for me. So if a male hips were that and that, feminine hips would be a little bit stronger of an angle, so you get a little bit more like that. So that and how much their feet kind of cross each other, and like you're kind of more like you're walking a tightrope. Those are the two things that really make a feminine walk feel a little bit more feminine. So there's those things. I would also say that it just needs a little bit of tweaking in here. So we got like, we'll see stuff like this where it's, we're getting a little bit of this, this where we're getting sort of this overshoot that's built into that instead of like sort of flowing into it. And then, like as I pointed out in here, like I'm not exactly for sure if that's supposed to be a little lower or what's like how we're supposed to get sort of the cycle element of that. So my undo's not working now. So but there are a fair amount of hitches. And you're seeing some of this in here. Like we got this wave for the first half of it, and then it kind of flattens out and does some stuff, or does less stuff. And so just kind of going through and making sure you're getting a little bit of a cleaner cycle, so we're getting a little bit more of this system of movement. So it just feels a little inconsistent, like it gets a little choppy in spots. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop after that, or on that one, and that way I can do the last 5 of them all in one video. So talk to you soon.